Yo, what you saying to me? Big Dog back again with another one. Yeah? International weekend, so there's no football like Premier League football to talk about. So, yeah, I'm going to get onto a few things because it's mad because I went out for my friend's birthday this week. We went to the KOD, the Kud, and it was a steakhouse and it was lovely. But bare football man in there, bare different fans. It was good. It was good. Football was the main conversation the whole dinner. But let me get to it. So basically, me and my friend Strives, big up Strives from the Pundit podcast. He was basically what he was saying to me is that, and what I see a lot of other Arsenal fans be talking about, and I've seen a lot of social media outlets discussing this and pushing this narrative of is the time up for Arteta if he doesn't win anything within the next season or so. And I just it drives me crazy because the reason why it drives me mad, and yeah, I want us to win. I want us to achieve all of these things. And that my friend was basically saying to me what's the time limit? How long do we give him? And it's just crazy to me that now, like with football, yes, I get the way that the game is nowadays, managers don't get a lot of time. They have no time to, no longevity in a club. Like literally it's a results-based game. You got to get the results. If you're not getting the results, they're going to start looking at another manager. But the thing with Arteta and the feeling I get with Arteta, and I get slated for this all the time, I get hella banter for this, but my thing is that I see Arteta as a long-term manager. And the mad thing is, if we was to lose Arteta, our rival fans would be bantering us. And a lot of our fans would be upset. Do you know what I mean? But it's like when Ten Hag was destroying Man United, and in the stands they're singing, they want you to stay, we want you to stay. If a manager's poor, you want him to stay in the club because the club's on a decline. They're regressing. They're regressing. You wouldn't want to be, calling for that club to get a new manager. You don't care about rival clubs that much that you want them to see them do well and get a new manager. No, we don't care. Do you get me? So this narrative that the media and social media are pushing is almost gaslighting Arsenal fans into thinking that Arteta is underachieving. Now, a lot will say we bottled the league. A lot will say that, January and the transfer window and all these things that didn't happen and it's all on Arteta. And that's the argument my friend was saying, that Arteta is partly to blame, and maybe he is partly to blame. But my thing also as well is the fact that in a business, and football is a business now, there are people with job titles, there are people that have, responsibilities in the club. And I think part of the problem, and I sat back and I've looked at it, and I'm like, and my friend says I'm always playing defense for Arteta and making excuses, but I don't. It's the fact that I look at things from a wider spectrum. I look at things from a wider perspective. Like, you look at the fact that Edu had gone. Who was the main person that needed to step up in order to make these deals, these transfers, these negotiations happens between rival clubs? Who is that guy? Was that guy fit for purpose? Was he good at his job? Did he freeze? Was the pressure too much for him? When Arteta and some of the other scouts and the people are coming to him with their targets and what they need to get in the summer. Because the thing is, in interviews during that time, Arteta was never going to throw the club under the bus, but he did state he needed help. So therefore, it's whoever's in that Edu position or in that Edu role to therefore then make something happen. And I feel like there was a bit of a freeze. I feel like, yes, I feel Arteta plays a major part in the transfers and in terms of the players and the signing that he wants. But then we also heard, news, whether it's true or false, that Edu and Arteta did disagree on targets. Edu had his targets that he wanted. Arteta had his targets that he wanted. And with that being there, that can also cause delays, which makes sense as to why certain deals took long to get over the line. But maybe in January, could it be a possibility that the person who is responsible for making something happen didn't do their job? And that was why the urgency coming out of the transfer window was to get a new sporting director as soon as possible to avoid this. But the thing is, we don't know, we can only speculate. But in my thought process, I take all these things into account. I'm not just going to blame one person for it. So this is the discussion that I was having with Strivs in terms of like looking at the wider perspective. He was, also adding, do I feel that Arteta is the man to take us to the next level? And I do. You know what? The way that I look at Arsenal and the way that where we're at right now, I feel that it's one of those things, that this is my opinion, and people are going to look at me crazy for my opinion, but I just feel that Arsenal are at that stage where they're a couple steps, and we may have been a couple steps away last season and whatever, but we are a couple steps from being a dominant side. Like, if you look at what's happened this season and you look at the fact that things haven't really gone in our favour, I'm not going to use these things as an excuse, but just part of the overall outlook as to why certain things didn't work out. You look at the games in which we drew, where we had sending offs and we played with 10 men, and testament to the players, didn't lose the game. Then you look at the injury crisis and you look at the players missing, and you look at all these things, and maybe, and you take it and factor in the fact of lacking to go and get a striker in January and all these things, and you put all of that in and even certain times in terms of, like I would say team selection, which you can put that down to Arteta and stuff. Maybe the team selection wasn't the right choice, but then sometimes your hands are tied, but you try, that these all contributed to Arsenal, in some people's eyes, like my friends are saying, and some of my other fans are saying, regressing. But then when you think about it, if this is a regression and you think you still finish second, obviously there's still games to play, so things can change. But let's say Arsenal finish second, you're still in the Champions League up against Real Madrid. These are the games that we've always cried out that we've wanted to see over the last how many years. You're competing and you're moving. Surely, like, I look at this season as a bit of a write-off, like, in a way that I will let this one slide, because there's just too many things to factor in to then put that and shoulder all that blame onto Arteta. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the PG MLNO, or whatever you want to call it, ABC, whatever, just there, we don't care what they're called, but either way, the referee organisation and them boys there, I don't feel like they've given us a chance. I feel like there was maybe an agenda out for Arsenal early doors to take points off of them, which they achieved, which also to the point where it started to make everyone look at them funny. Do you know what I mean? When you're up against these kind of things and are trying to stall your season, it is hard. And I think Arsenal have done well, and Arteta, in testament to the boys and the players and all those that have managed to stay fit, to continue to grind it out up until 4 weeks ago, we were still like on the heels of Liverpool and had a possibility to kind of apply real pressure on them, where the team didn't manage to get that over the line, and which is disappointing, I will say. But then also, it's football, innit? And it just seems like we struggle against, the West Hams, the Nottingham Forests, and those kind of sides where you would think it's an easy 3 points, but for whatever reason, teams just want to turn up against us. So, yeah, like, do I feel that Arteta has underachieved this season? I just feel like the odds have been stacked against us and against him. And I think the agenda that you see with the mainstream media, who majority of the mainstream media aren't Arsenal fans, tell you everything they need to know. They can see the potential in this guy. They can see the possibilities that and what is actually happening before us. That Arsenal are a lot better club. Where we used to be the banter team and everyone was comfortable and happy with us being the banter team, they're not comfortable now. That's why these news stations are pushing these agendas and, trying to gaslight the fans, because they see it. And I think once it clicks with Arteta and he wins the Premier League and he, cements that, I feel like it just goes from strength to strength. And I feel like there will be a moment in time Arsenal will dominate Premier League football for a few years. You can already see it now with everything that, the way that it is. If people are saying we've always needed a striker and we've always needed this or this, that, and we've been competing. we've been up there. So imagine when they eventually get it right and they get the right striker in and they get the right winger in, and our defence is solid. You know, we've conceded the least goals this season, and that's nothing new. We did that last season. You know, like we've got a strong defence that are young. You know, in terms of the way Arsenal have done this rebuild, if you want to call it, and the players that they've brought in, like, we can't complain. And I see a lot of complaints, and yes, there might be in January Moreno coming in and Calafiori, maybe more Calafiori being the questionable signing. But Moreno, a lot of fans at the start were happy to get Moreno. They were celebrating that signing. Did we need an attacker? Yes, we did. And did they, did the powers that be let Arteta down by just bringing Sterling in on loan? Yeah, they did. But do I think Sterling was Arteta's choice? No, I don't. I think that choice was made for him, and that player was brought in, and he's just not lived up to the potential or what we think he could achieve. So, my thing is, I do feel like Arteta deserves the time. He's taken us from a dark place, taken us from a place where we were languishing, like, bottom half of the table, 8th. Do you know what I mean? That's poor for us, like, he came in his first season, won an FA Cup. People would say that was Unai Emery's team. It don't matter. He still came in, managed the club, beat Liverpool, beat Man City, beat Chelsea in the final to win that trophy, and he's done that. So, I feel like there's a lot of potential in Arteta, and also I also take into account that the fact that he's new, innit? He's been managing 5 years, and like anything, like I said to my friend, I said, especially even with my job is a technical job. That even after being in my profession for 8 to 9 years, doing what I'm doing, I'm always still learning, adapting, and finding new things out with the job. And it's same like coaching. Arteta's gonna make mistakes. He's gonna be, you look at the likes of Man United, and you look at Chelsea, and you look at all these clubs that have been, rebuilding and trying to gain that success and that dominant force in Premier League football, and how long it's taken them to kind of find that. And you look at Jose Mourinho, and he said that, finishing second with United that season was his greatest achievement, because it's not easy. And if you have all these managers coming in and doing all of this and trying to build, and they're struggling to do it, and you see a manager that comes in and turns a club around, brings in players and have them back competing, just shows you how good it is. And I think I understand the expectation from fans, but I also feel like we have to be realistic and just be living in the real world. We all want to be quick to have like the bragging rights to come into work the next day, or go to football on a weeknight, or 5-a-side, 7-a-side, and banter your boys and look at us and puff out your chest and that. But you also have to be realistic to the fact that things take time, especially if you want to be dominant in football. It takes time. It don't happen overnight. Like, you look at how even Barcelona was going through a bad time, and they had to turn it around, try a few managers, and now they're back competing with a super team. And even when you look at like Klopp and the time Klopp was given, and the thing is, even though like Klopp won a lot, it took him 4 years to get to where he won and did what he did over those 2 seasons, and winning the Champions League and winning the Premier League and stuff like that. But after that, when he wasn't winning, a Man City, took back the title, and that there was no cause for him to be sacked. There wasn't no how long do we give him. The fans loved him. The fans have stuck by him, and it feels like sometimes our fans are so fickle that any sign of hardship, any sign, they melt down. We lose a game and they melt down, and they start questioning the manager. I just think it's so immature, and I feel like this new generation of fans, and even some of the old fans, and how they're thinking nowadays is just delusional. And I'll say it. So I just think going forward, we just need to kind of support the manager, support the journey, and get on it. We're in March now, and people are still talking about the fact we didn't sign a striker in January. Like, get over it. Get over it, man. Like, people are still talking about the same things. Like, we're in the Champions League. semi-final against Real Madrid. That should be our main priority, getting behind the club. Listen, it's an uphill task, and some people believe that we can still win it. Like, for me, I feel like the fear factor of Real Madrid is what it is. You know, when you look at the squad and you look at the lineup and you have like Mbappe, you know, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Bellingham in the middle, it's a scary prospect. Do I feel we can do it? We can do anything. We're in it. So anything is possible. But I feel like getting behind the club, trying to push us to some form and getting us where we need to get to and finishing the season strong should be everyone's main priority, and not complaining and moaning and going over the same stuff that we've been going over for the last how many months. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I stand with it in a minute. So do I feel Arteta is the man to take us to the next level? Yes, I do. Do I feel like he needs to be given more time? Yeah. And do I have a time limit? And to be honest, I don't feel like that I have a time limit where I say he's got until this time and then I'm going to start. As long as we keep on bettering, keep competing, keep pushing, you eventually get over the line. And sometimes these are lessons that people need to learn about life in itself. Just because it doesn't work the first few times doesn't mean you give up. You keep pushing, especially when you're seeing progress, you keep going. And that is what life is about. And I feel like we live in a society nowadays when things go wrong, everyone wants to jump ship and try something new and run off. And no one's really sticking at things. And I think with this, we have to stick at it. We're on the right track. We're on the right trajectory. And I feel that we just have to keep on pushing because it will go good. And when it does go good, I honestly think it's going to be amazing. I feel like Arsenal Football Club will cement themselves in Europe, and I feel like they will cement themselves in the league as being back to where they belong. So we just have to be patient. When will I start to feel like enough is enough? Like I said to Stripes, I said, when the club fully regress, like, you know, you get some big players decide that they want to look at other pastures green, and, you know, we slide down to third and fourth and we're not competing, and it looks like the players aren't sold on the dream, and things just start to look like it's going the other way. That's when I would start to look at this project and start to think, you know, what phase are we in? Where are we at right now? Because it's not working. But as we're still on the upward trajectory, still competing, still pushing, yeah, I'm with it. Like, I'm with it. And there is no time frame if we are pushing. And that's the thing. A few seasons ago, people were talking about, I just want to compete. I just want to see us compete. Okay, now we're competing and everyone's moving the goalposts. So I feel like everyone just has to be a little bit realistic in this, you know? So I'm still with it. I'm still on board with this journey. I still trust in the process. And I feel a lot of the fans should still trust it too, until we see something that needs to, for us to look at it otherwise. But one thing I did say as well is that going into the summer, if we don't show ambition in the transfer window, that would slightly make me look at the club a bit funny, because it's clear to see that, yeah, the club needed backing in January. For whatever reasons why it didn't, we will never know. But in the summer, I feel like it would be unforgivable, should I say, if some big names or big striker doesn't come in. And we're not talking about, you know, looking to the future and potential. I'm talking about bringing, I would expect Arsenal to go for the like of Isak. We've been, we've been linked to Isak for a while now, and really I feel like we should have got him when he went to Newcastle. We should have done the deal then. But yeah, I think, if we're not trying to go for a player like that in the summer, then it'll make me look at everything a bit it'll make me look at everything a little bit funny. But here we are. Listen, this is a quick one, in and out. Like I said, if you like my content, like and subscribe, hit the share button, show what, go on to your friends, support the page. Also, make sure you tap in with leangang.co.uk. Yeah, go and get your Lean Gang gear, go and get your stuff. The website's back up and running. So yeah, go and support that. Big Doug, I'm out for another one, and I'll catch you soon. Skrrt.